Donald John Trump was born on June 14, 1946, in Queens, New York City, the fourth of 5 children to Fred and Mary Ann Trump. His father, Fred, was a self-made real estate developer who built middle-class housing in Brooklyn and Queens. His mother, Mary Ann, had emigrated from a small fishing village in Scotland, bringing with her a sense of thrift and resilience. The household operated under strict rules, emphasizing discipline, ambition, and the expectation that each child would achieve something significant. Donald absorbed this environment early, watching his father's sharp business instincts and unrelenting work ethic. As a child, he displayed a mix of charm, competitiveness, and defiance. Teachers at the Kew Forest School often recalled his energy and unwillingness to conform to rules without challenge. While some saw potential leadership qualities, others saw disruptive confidence. He was quick to speak his mind, enjoyed being the center of attention, and showed little patience for limitations. These traits, combined with a competitive household atmosphere where siblings vied for their father's approval, forged in him a strong drive to stand out. By age 13, Donald's assertiveness had grown into behavior his parents found difficult to channel within a traditional school setting. In 1959, they enrolled him in the New York Military Academy, a boarding school known for its discipline and structured environment. For many, military school was a corrective measure, but for Trump, it became a place to harness his energy. He thrived in the regimented system, quickly rising to the rank of captain and showing a talent for leading peers. The academy instilled in him a respect for hierarchy and a taste for competition. Drills, athletic contests, and strict schedules honed his persistence, while success in sports, particularly baseball, reinforced his confidence in his abilities. Trump's teenage years coincided with the cultural shifts of the early 1960s, but military school kept him insulated from much of the era's rebellion. Instead of experimenting with counterculture, he was calculating how to advance. He learned the value of presentation, how uniforms, posture, and presence could command respect, and began to understand that perception was a form of power. Graduating in 1964, Trump moved on to higher education. He began at Fordham University in the Bronx but transferred after 2 years to the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania. Wharton's real estate program offered him both prestige and a direct connection to the family business. He applied himself selectively, focusing on subjects he considered directly applicable to making money, such as finance and real estate investment. While not known as a top student academically, he paid close attention to networking, forming connections with individuals who might prove useful later. During summers and breaks, he worked in his father's company, learning firsthand the mechanics of property management, construction, and deal-making. He visited building sites, met contractors, and observed how Fred Trump negotiated prices and managed projects. His father's focus was on solid, reliable income through middle-income housing, avoiding unnecessary risks. Donald respected the success but saw the limitations. He envisioned moving into high-profile developments, luxury properties, and projects that would attract media coverage. The young Trump's worldview was shaped not just by the business lessons at home, but also by the broader environment of New York City. The city in the late 1960s was a complex mix of opportunity and challenge. Economic fluctuations, real estate booms in certain neighborhoods, and an increasingly competitive field of ambitious developers. He understood that making money was only part of success. Creating a recognizable name was equally important. Friends and acquaintances from his university years noted that he spoke openly about wanting to be known, not just wealthy. He admired celebrities and powerful figures who could influence culture beyond their immediate field. This fascination with public recognition set him apart from his father, who preferred to remain behind the scenes. Donald wanted his name on buildings, in newspapers, and eventually in history books. By the time he graduated from Wharton in 1968, he had a clear idea of his path. He would enter the family business but on his own terms, expanding its scope beyond Brooklyn and Queens into Manhattan, the center of prestige in real estate. He believed Manhattan offered not just higher financial returns but a stage for visibility. At 22, he was ambitious, untested on the larger stage, and certain that his combination of confidence, presentation, and business instincts would propel him further than the solid but modest success of his upbringing. This early period of his life was not marked by hardship in the traditional sense. His challenges came from the pressure to prove himself worthy of the advantages he had been given and to surpass the achievements of the man who had raised him. That drive, rooted in family expectation, competitive upbringing, and a personal hunger for recognition, would define his next moves. And while his father's name opened the first doors, Donald Trump was already thinking about how to make sure people remembered his own. After graduating, Donald Trump entered the family business with a clear vision to elevate it beyond its established market. Fred Trump's operations focused on solid, income-producing properties in Brooklyn, Queens, and Staten Island. Donald respected the stability of that approach but felt it lacked glamour and national attention. His ambitions centered on Manhattan, a place his father had largely avoided due to its competitive and risky environment. Donald saw those same factors as opportunities for scale, prestige, and influence. His first major independent move came in 1976, when he negotiated the redevelopment of the Commodore Hotel near Grand Central Terminal. The property was deteriorating, occupancy was low, and the surrounding area had lost much of its former appeal. Where others saw a liability, Trump saw a chance to make a high-profile mark. He arranged a complex deal involving city tax abatements, financing from banks, and a partnership with the Hyatt Corporation. In 1980, the transformed Grand Hyatt opened, with polished glass, modern interiors, and the Trump name prominently displayed. It was a commercial success and, more importantly, a media success, firmly placing him in the public eye as a bold young developer who could execute big projects. Trump's next and perhaps most iconic move was the development of Trump Tower on Fifth Avenue. Completed in 1983, it combined luxury residences, retail space, and dramatic architecture. The atrium's marble, gold accents, and waterfall embodied the opulence he wanted his brand to represent. Trump Tower became more than just a building, it became a statement of identity, tying his name to extravagance and success. High-end retailers and celebrity residents added to its allure, ensuring it was covered extensively by the press. Throughout the 1980s, Trump leveraged his growing reputation to secure financing and take on ambitious projects. He moved into the casino industry in Atlantic City, opening Trump Plaza in 1984, Trump Castle in 1985, and later the Trump Taj Mahal in 1990. These ventures were designed to dominate the market through size, luxury, and marketing. The casinos, along with golf courses and hotels, extended his brand into hospitality and entertainment, creating multiple revenue streams and further cementing his image as a lifestyle mogul. Trump understood the value of publicity as much as the mechanics of development. He actively cultivated relationships with reporters and columnists, ensuring his projects and personal life were regularly featured in newspapers and magazines. He became a fixture in gossip columns, often offering quotable statements that fueled his persona as a confident, sometimes brash figure. He knew that maintaining visibility was essential for attracting investors, buyers, and partners. His expansion also included ventures beyond traditional real estate. He acquired the Plaza Hotel in 1988, restoring it and marketing it as a symbol of timeless luxury. He invested in an airline shuttle service, purchased a yacht, and explored branded merchandise. Each acquisition reinforced the image of a man whose name could be attached to a wide range of high-status enterprises. But this aggressive growth came with significant risks. By the late 1980s, Trump had accumulated substantial debt to finance his projects. The early 1990s recession, combined with declining casino revenues and a softening real estate market, created serious financial pressure. Several of his businesses filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. Trump negotiated with banks to restructure loans, often trading equity in his properties for reduced debt. While some critics viewed these maneuvers as signs of failure, Trump framed them as strategic comebacks, emphasizing his ability to survive economic downturns. This period tested his resilience and skill in deal-making. Rather than retreat from the public eye during financial strain, he doubled down on his brand. He wrote, "The art of the deal, In 1987, a bestseller that blended autobiography with business advice, portraying himself as a master negotiator. The book became a cultural touchstone for aspiring entrepreneurs and solidified his reputation as more than just a developer. He was now seen as an authority on success itself. Through these years, the Trump name evolved into a standalone asset. It no longer solely represented physical buildings, but a broader concept of wealth, ambition, and status. He licensed his name to other developers, earning fees without direct investment. This strategy allowed him to expand his influence globally while minimizing exposure to financial risk. By the mid-1990s, Donald Trump had endured both spectacular growth and significant setbacks. His ability to command media attention, secure complex deals, and present himself as a figure of relentless ambition kept him in the public consciousness. The real estate empire was no longer just a family business. It had become the foundation for a personal brand recognized worldwide. For Trump, the path forward was clear. His name was the most valuable property he owned, and he intended to keep building on it in every possible direction. By the early 2000s, Donald Trump had already established himself as a prominent name in business and real estate, but his ambitions extended beyond property deals. He recognized that television could magnify his image far beyond the reach of real estate headlines. The opportunity came in 2003 when NBC approached him with a concept for a reality competition centered on business tasks. Trump agreed, and the result was The Apprentice. Premiering in January 2004, the show pitted contestants against one another in challenges designed to test their marketing, negotiation, and leadership skills. Each week, Trump's decisive boardroom verdicts ended with the now famous phrase, "You're fired." The combination of real competition, dramatic editing, and Trump's larger-than-life persona made the series an instant hit. It drew millions of viewers and gave him a weekly platform to showcase his business acumen, style, and confidence. The Apprentice wasn't merely entertainment, it was an unprecedented form of brand marketing. Every episode reinforced the idea that Trump was the ultimate authority on success. The gold decor of the boardroom, the helicopter shots of Trump Tower, and the portrayal of Trump as a no-nonsense decision-maker all worked to solidify a brand that was aspirational and authoritative. The success of the original series led to spin-offs like The Celebrity Apprentice, which featured well-known personalities competing for charity under Trump's direction. This format expanded the audience even further, as celebrities brought their own followings into the viewership. Trump's presence on primetime television transformed him from a real estate developer with a notable name into a pop culture figure recognized in households across America and abroad. Television fame opened doors for a new wave of branding opportunities. Trump began licensing his name to products ranging from luxury suits and fragrances to bottled water and home furnishings. While not all ventures were profitable or long-lived, the sheer variety reinforced his image as a man whose name stood for high-end aspiration. He continued to invest in golf courses and hotels under the Trump brand, often using media coverage to link these ventures back to the success narrative cultivated on TV. The exposure also revived public interest in his earlier work and personal story. Book sales increased, speaking engagements multiplied, and his public profile became more valuable than many of his physical assets. Trump had become adept at blending his roles, businessman, entertainer, and brand ambassador, into a single persona that commanded attention in multiple industries. But television fame also brought heightened scrutiny. Journalists and critics examined his past business deals more closely, questioning the reality behind the image of unbroken success. Lawsuits involving ventures like Trump University and various licensing agreements began to attract coverage. Public disputes with celebrities, politicians, and even media outlets became part of his persona, often generating as much attention as his professional endeavors. Trump didn't shy away from these conflicts. He understood that controversy could keep him in the headlines, and he frequently engaged in high-profile feuds that ensured his name remained in circulation. His time on The Apprentice also allowed him to experiment with messaging that resonated with a broad audience. He positioned himself as a voice for decisive action, merit-based rewards, and unapologetic ambition. The show's framing cast him as a figure who rewarded performance and punished failure without hesitation, traits that appealed to viewers who valued clarity and directness in leadership. Even as he continued to oversee his business interests, Trump increasingly operated in the realm of public opinion. His comments on political issues, the economy, and international affairs began to attract attention outside the entertainment pages. Media appearances on news channels and talk shows expanded his platform beyond entertainment, allowing him to test the waters of political discourse while maintaining the protective frame of celebrity. By the early 2010s, The Apprentice had run multiple seasons and solidified Trump's position as one of the most recognizable figures in the country. He had successfully bridged the worlds of business, entertainment, and politics in the public mind, often blurring the boundaries between them. For millions of Americans, Trump was no longer just a name on skyscrapers or in real estate news. He was a television personality who projected authority, success, and confidence every week. This phase of his life demonstrated his ability to adapt and expand his influence. He had taken a medium traditionally reserved for actors and entertainers and used it to reinforce and expand his business brand. The platform allowed him to speak directly to the public, bypassing the limitations of business press coverage. More importantly, it created a personal connection with viewers who saw him not just as a wealthy figure but as someone who made decisions in front of them, on camera, in real time. By the time his television tenure was winding down, Trump had achieved a rare level of cross-platform recognition. He was as much a celebrity as he was a businessman, and that combination gave him a unique position from which to pursue his next ambitions. The stage had been set for a transition into an arena where public attention was currency, and name recognition was a decisive advantage. Donald Trump's move into politics was not sudden but the culmination of decades of public positioning. He had occasionally floated the idea of running for office in earlier interviews, framing himself as someone capable of solving problems with decisiveness and business discipline. By 2015, with his television career established and his public profile at its peak, he decided the moment was right. On June 16 of that year, he announced his candidacy for the presidency of the United States as a Republican, entering a crowded field of experienced politicians and established party figures. His campaign was unconventional from the start. He relied heavily on direct communication through rallies, interviews, and social media, bypassing many traditional political channels. His slogan, "Make America Great Again," resonated with voters who felt economically and culturally left behind. Trump's speaking style, unscripted, blunt, and often provocative, differed sharply from the polished delivery of his rivals. Supporters saw him as authentic and unfiltered, while critics viewed his approach as inflammatory. During the Republican primaries, he used his skill in commanding media attention to dominate coverage. Television networks frequently broadcast his speeches live, granting him exposure far beyond what other candidates received without the same level of advertising spending. He attacked opponents directly, branding them with memorable nicknames, and framed himself as the outsider who would disrupt the political establishment. One by one, veteran politicians were eliminated from the race, until Trump secured the Republican nomination in July 2016. The general election against Democratic nominee Hillary Clinton became one of the most contentious in modern history. Trump focused on issues such as immigration control, renegotiating trade deals, reducing government regulation, and strengthening national borders. He promised to appoint conservative judges to the Supreme Court, repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act, and bring manufacturing jobs back to the United States. His campaign rallies drew large, enthusiastic crowds, while his use of social media kept him in constant communication with supporters. Controversies surrounded him throughout the campaign. Comments from past interviews, allegations of misconduct, and his combative responses to criticism became recurring headlines. Yet these events often appeared to solidify his appeal among core supporters, who viewed media attacks as evidence of his outsider status and refusal to conform to political norms. On November 8, 2016, in a result that defied most polling forecasts, Trump won the Electoral College, becoming the 45th President of the United States. In office, Trump pursued an agenda focused on fulfilling campaign promises. He signed a significant tax reform bill in 2017, reducing corporate tax rates and adjusting individual tax brackets. He implemented stricter immigration policies, including travel restrictions on certain countries, increased border security measures, and efforts to build a wall along the southern border. His administration prioritized deregulation, particularly in the energy and environmental sectors, and renegotiated trade agreements, including replacing NAFTA with the United States, Mexico, Canada agreement. Trump appointed 3 Supreme Court justices, Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, and Amy Coney Barrett, shaping the judicial branch for decades to come. His foreign policy emphasized an America First approach, withdrawing from the Paris Climate Accord, pressuring NATO allies to increase defense spending, and engaging directly with North Korea in high-profile summits. He took a confrontational stance toward China, imposing tariffs in an effort to address trade imbalances. His presidency also deepened political divisions in the country. Supporters praised his results-oriented style and willingness to challenge institutions they believed had grown unresponsive. Critics accused him of undermining democratic norms, mishandling sensitive issues, and fostering polarization. In 2019, the House of Representatives impeached him over allegations related to Ukraine, making him the 3rd U.S. president to face impeachment. He was acquitted by the Senate in early 2020. The arrival of the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020 reshaped the final year of his term. His administration implemented travel restrictions, accelerated vaccine development through Operation Warp Speed, and provided economic relief measures, but faced criticism over the federal response and public health messaging. The pandemic's impact, combined with widespread protests over racial justice and an economy in turmoil, created an unprecedented election environment. That year, Trump ran for re-election against Democratic nominee Joe Biden. His campaign emphasized reopening the economy, law and order, and protecting conservative judicial gains. The election, held during the pandemic with record mail-in voting, saw a high turnout. Biden won the Electoral College and popular vote, but Trump contested the results, alleging widespread voter fraud without evidence that withstood legal scrutiny. Dozens of court cases failed, yet he maintained that the election had been stolen. In January 2021, as Congress prepared to certify the Electoral College results, a rally he addressed in Washington, D.C., preceded the breach of the U.S. Capitol by some of his supporters. The incident led to his second impeachment, this time on charges of incitement of insurrection. He was acquitted again in the Senate, but the event marked one of the most controversial moments of his political career and left the country deeply divided over his legacy as president. After leaving office in January 2021, Donald Trump returned to private life at Mar-a-Lago in Florida but did not withdraw from the political stage. Almost immediately, he positioned himself as the central figure in the Republican Party, continuing to contest the legitimacy of the 2020 election results and framing himself as the leader of a movement rather than a former president stepping aside. His influence remained strong, as candidates seeking office often sought his endorsement, knowing it could significantly boost their chances in Republican primaries. Within months, Trump resumed holding large rallies across the country, using them to energize supporters, criticize political opponents, and promote policy positions aligned with his America First agenda. These events served both as a show of strength and as a signal that his political career might not be over. His control over the Republican base allowed him to influence the party's direction on key issues, from immigration to trade policy. Legal and political challenges also shaped his post-presidency. He faced multiple investigations, including probes into his business practices, the handling of classified documents, and his actions leading up to the Capitol breach. Some cases focused on alleged financial irregularities within the Trump Organization, while others examined his post-election conduct. Trump consistently dismissed these inquiries as politically motivated, using them to reinforce a narrative of being targeted by opponents. Despite these challenges, he maintained a prominent media presence. After being suspended from major social media platforms, he sought alternative methods of communication, launching his own platform, Truth Social, to speak directly to supporters without relying on traditional outlets. He also gave interviews to sympathetic media and remained a frequent topic of national and international news coverage. In 2022, Trump continued to shape the Republican political landscape through endorsements in the midterm elections. While many of his chosen candidates won their primaries, results in the general election were mixed, prompting discussions within the party about its future direction. Nonetheless, his core support remained intact, and speculation about a potential 2024 presidential run grew stronger. His influence extended beyond electoral politics. Trump's brand, which had been built over decades, adapted to his post-presidency by intertwining political identity with lifestyle marketing. He hosted events at his properties, leveraged his political stature for fundraising, and remained a figure who could draw large audiences in person and online. This ongoing visibility ensured that he stayed relevant in national conversations, whether through political initiatives or cultural commentary. By late 2022, he formally announced his candidacy for the 2024 presidential election, aiming for a non-consecutive second term. This move was unprecedented in modern American politics and further polarized opinion about him. Supporters saw it as a chance to restore policies from his first term, while critics viewed it as an extension of the divisions and controversies that marked his presidency. Throughout this period, Trump's approach remained consistent with the strategies he had employed for decades, maximizing media attention, framing challenges as battles to be won, and maintaining a direct connection with his audience. His speeches blended political promises with grievances against perceived adversaries, ensuring that his message resonated with those who felt overlooked by mainstream political figures. Internationally, Trump's ongoing prominence kept him a subject of discussion among world leaders and analysts. His policies during his presidency, particularly on trade, foreign alliances, and national sovereignty, continued to influence debates on the global stage. His potential return to the White House became a factor in foreign policy calculations, underscoring the lasting impact of his tenure. In addition to politics, Trump maintained his role in the business world, though in a more limited capacity than before his presidency. His real estate holdings, golf courses, and hospitality ventures continued to operate, with the Trump name remaining both a draw and a point of contention depending on the audience. As 2023 unfolded, his legal battles intensified, including criminal charges in multiple jurisdictions. These cases were unprecedented for a former U.S. president and added new layers of complexity to his public image. Yet they also provided material for his rallies and communications, reinforcing his portrayal of himself as a political outsider under siege by entrenched powers. Despite the controversies, Donald Trump's capacity to command attention remained unmatched. Whether through policy proposals, endorsements, legal confrontations, or campaign events, he continued to occupy a central place in American politics. His story, far from concluded, evolved into one of persistence, conflict, and the ongoing struggle for influence. For his supporters, he remained a champion of their values. For his detractors, a symbol of division. Either way, his legacy was still being written, and the outcome of his next political chapter would determine how history ultimately judged him.